My name is John Butt. I'm Professor of Music at the University of Glasgow, a freelance performer and conductor. Very lucky this week to be working with the Academy at St Martin in the Fields as a guest, and very much enjoying being here. I've known Evelyn Wallen for over 20 years. When I was working in Cambridge in the late 90s as Director of Studies in Music at King's College, she joined the college as a master's student, and we became firm friends absolutely immediately and have kept in very close contact ever since. Concerto Grosso is one of her most accessible works, but it's also one that repays repeated listening and work. It's a piece that really uses the dialogue form that the traditional Concerto Grosso gives. Well, Concerto Grosso is, of course, a Baroque form from the late 17th, early 18th century. And what's important about it, I think, is that instead of having one single profiled soloist and an orchestra playing against each other, you have three profiled soloists. So in a certain sense, you have a greater degree of dialogue.
The Concerto Grosso from the Baroque period was maybe not as soloistic, I would say. This piece, it's like a jazz trio, except my instrument, so I'm out of place. It should be a trumpet or something. But then, of course, in the Baroque Concerto Grosso, the violin is the main principal voice, so that's the link going back.
Errollyn borrows many of the typical devices of Baroque music, repeated notes and repeated figures, but she uses them in new ways. And she's very keen on patterns and repetitions, but always by throwing in something unexpected. She is somebody who I think has been very much influenced by various popular forms of music, and particularly jazz and blues, but has been brought up very much in the modernist tradition of Stravinsky, Britten, and so on. You can hear those coming together very well. She's got a really sort of intuitive grasp of how different styles of music can belong together and retain and indeed create a form of energy which is really very much of her own. I think one of the things that listeners listening to this piece should get from it, or would hope they would get from it, is a sense of the joy of it. It has that sort of effervescent feel that so much Baroque music has. Yet there's a sort of humour in it, as if we are looking at Baroque music from a slightly odd angle, an angle that we haven't seen before.
You know, if you've ever been in like a fun fair or somewhere and you go into the Hall of Mirrors and you get a rather surprising reflection, it feels a bit like that to me. So you've got this familiar form and you almost expect to have it reflected back. You're teased into that by it being called a Concerto Grosso. But what you get back is something which is sort of extravagant reflection of that.
It's music that you can recognise and relate to, yet it takes you on a further journey. It sort of builds in a sort of sense of historical embeddedness to people. It gives them an immediacy in the present, but a sense of a variety of pasts, musical pasts, that belong to our communal present.
What I personally get out of playing a piece like this is just, it puts a smile on my face in every way. It's uplifting, full of spirit, and what more could you ask for?